Sunday, December 1st was college coaching carousel Monday in Louisiana college football. Two new announcements: Lane Kiffin to LSU, Marshall Faulk to Southern, and then out of state, Jon Sumrall, the Tulane coach, announced as the Florida Gators' next head coach. I'm Jarrett Roser for Louisiana versus all y'all. Got Garland Gillen here from Fox 8 to talk about a lot of this, particularly Jon Sumrall leaving Tulane for Florida here. He will have a chance to coach through this season, so that's exciting. But Garland, it was a busy Monday for sure, and it's been a hectic week, month, whatever, just kind of monitoring all of this. How are you doing, and what are your overall takeaways of a lot of shifts happening this offseason for Louisiana colleges?
Sunday, I think, was unprecedented, Jared. I mean, I've been covering sports for 25 years now. You've been in the game a long time also. For LSU to gain a coach and Tulane to lose a coach on the same day was something we might not see again for a long period of time. Maybe not. I don't know. College football is a crazy place to be. But for the two programs that I predominantly cover in college football, for them to have coaching changes on the same day definitely has never happened before. Lane coming to Baton Rouge. We knew it was in the works for weeks. Finally happened. Jon Sumrall is a little different because I honestly thought that Auburn was a slam dunk. I think that some lines got crossed and between Summerall and the AD at Auburn, and then Florida just swooped in and took Jon Sumrall away from Auburn, and then Ole Miss at the last minute try to get in there late, but it didn't happen. Like, Summerall was so far down the path with Florida that Lane Kiffin's indecision of staying at Ole Miss or LSU kind of cost the Ole Miss Rebels a shot at Jon Sumrall, and I think that's the main reason why they went with Pete Golding to make him the head coach.
That was one of the points where I realized that Lane Kiffin to LSU was likely happening. And obviously nothing is done until the ink dries, but hearing that there was some Ole Miss interest and kind of back channels checking in on would Sumrall have some interest in Oxford, realized that Ole Miss was starting to realize they were going to have to pivot in some fashion. But obviously the Lane situation dragged out into late Saturday night and early Sunday morning and all of those things. But Jon mentioned in his, like, the first comments he made in his Florida introduction were talking about how he and Lane had talked through this process and how they agreed that he was the right guy for the job, and just kind of, joked, said he wanted to poke a little fun at his friend Lane Kiffin. I think you and I are both pretty big fans of Sumrall as a coach and what he brings to the table. Watching what he's done at Tulane the last couple of years, 19-7, playing on Friday for a second straight, or under him, second straight overall, fourth straight AAC title game. What should Gator fans expect from Sumrall taking over their program? What has made him be successful at his two stops early in his head coaching career?
Well, obviously he won the press conference yesterday at Florida. There was a lot of naysayers out there. Didn't want Jon Sumrall because they didn't want another group of five coach from the state of Louisiana. Obviously, they did not have success with Billy Napier. Billy Napier and Jon Sumrall are totally different people. Napier's way more reserved. Jon wears his emotions out in public. Like, you can tell if you watch him during a game. I mean, he is super emotional. He owns the room. His first press conference at Tulane, I'll never forget it. He goes up there and says, "We're going to the college football playoff and we're going to win it." And I'm like, okay, like, all right, this dude, like, seems like he gets it, and he's used to success. He had at Troy for both seasons. I think he'll have success at Florida. Obviously, he doubles his salary pay, which I don't think was the main reason he went there. I think it was because he could have success quickly at Florida. I think that was probably I think he thinks best option. When you're in Auburn, Alabama, that's a whole different animal that you're dealing with the alumni that Auburn have a lot of power. But Florida, they gave him a new general manager who comes from the Philadelphia Eagles. It doesn't appear that Joe Craddock, his OC from Tulane, is going to make that trip with him to Florida. It looks like he's going to revamp his staff a lot. I don't know how many people from Tulane are going to make it to Florida, but I would say, Florida fans, y'all need to chill out. Okay, this is not the same guy. And I will say this also: my sources have told me that Summerall did have a long conversation with Billy Napier before he took this job. So he knew exactly what he was getting into. Yes, and I'm glad Jon went publicly. Yes, he did have a conversation with Lane Kiffin also. He's in a group text with like a few SEC coaches, Summerall, Lane, Kirby Smart. They're in a group text together. So these guys talk a lot, okay? A lot of these guys are represented by the same agents also. So Jon knew what he was getting into at Florida, talking to Napier and then talking to Lane.
And just talking to guys that have worked with Jon prior to this all playing out, they said the appreciation that Summerall had for Tulane and the opportunity that was there was very genuine, and that if he was going to leave, it was going to be for a place where he felt like he could compete for national championships. And obviously Florida has a history of doing that at a high level when it's rolling there. To have a guy like Summerall that wants to be at Tulane, but still realize that there are going to be opportunities out there where you probably can't keep him from going to pursue an SEC opportunity in a bigger bag and bigger championship contention odds. How challenging is that for Tulane to just kind of navigate their place in college football right now, as they want to be a team that's competing for playoff spots year in and year out, and certainly conference titles, but knowing that it's always going to be a challenge to try and hang on to the guys that can bring you there?
Yeah, Tulane alumni and boosters I've talked to definitely have a frustration that Tulane is a stepping stone program to bigger success. But if you're losing these coaches to group of four programs, Power Four programs, then that's a good thing. I mean, Memphis has lost 3 coaches in a row to big time programs, and Tulane has now lost 2 coaches in a row. So I think the word is out that if you want to make it to a big time job, go through Tulane to get there. And I think that's a strong statement, okay? Because listen, Tommy Bowden led Tulane to an undefeated season in 1998, and Rich Rod wanted to be that coach, and they went in a different direction. They went Chris Selfo, and it didn't work out. It failed miserably, and it set back the Tulane program for 15 years, that one hire. And if you can get those stepping stone hires, I mean, Rich Rod probably would have had success at Tulane, and then he'd have moved on, but at least you would have kept the train going. It got derailed for a long period of time, and Willie finally got it back on track. And then what Willie did, Summerall was like, I want to be there. I mean, it wasn't a big, I wouldn't say lateral move. It was only a small step up going from Troy to Tulane. You know, I think Summerall took a leap going from Troy to Tulane, wasn't a big jump. But he saw what Willie Fritz did, saw Willie Fritz with the Houston. So I think Tulane fans should just accept where they are. And, hey, they're a football school. They're fighting for a championship on Friday and maybe a college football playoff, which only 12 teams in America get into. Now, I will say this. Yes, they will be heavy underdogs in the college football playoff. They get to it. But, man, how cool would it be to see Tulane in college football playoff? Because right now their best memory is the Cotton Bowl against USC, coming back from 15 points down. And that is a fantastic memory of beating the Heisman Trophy winner. But this would take it to another level, being in the college football playoff.
The success that they had finding a successor to Fritz that could keep this thing humming and competing for AAC championships has to give fans and, you know, the administration even some confidence that, okay, we can go do that again here 2 years later and find the right guy. There were probably anxieties when Willie Fritz and company were leaving for Houston, but they found a guy in Summerall that could keep it rolling. What do they look for in the next head coach? What are some things that would be important for a candidate to possess? Do they look at anyone on staff? Obviously, I mean, you reported Blake Baker was having conversations Monday about the potential. The fantastic LSU defensive coordinator that's an alumnus of the university. If you had to kind of pinpoint some characteristics or directions to start looking as a possible next Tulane coach, what would that look like?
Yeah, so Blake Baker is definitely in the mix. He's an alum. He played at Tulane. So that definitely gives him a leg up, I would assume, talking to people in New Orleans. There's a list of 10 that is my understanding of people that David Harris, the AD, is going to interview, and then push this down possibly to one candidate or a few candidates by Wednesday and have a hire possibly Thursday or Friday. You and I both know that early National Signing Day is on Wednesday. So there is a race to time to get this hire, but I don't think David Harris wants to go through the list. He hired a company to give him the list of these names. I know that talking to people around there that David Harris has affinity for sitting head coaches, but I think that's not what you definitely listen to them, but you got to listen to the Chris Hampton who coached at Tulane, who's definitely a big time name out there. I know there's a lot of blowback on Twitter when I put it out there, but Billy Napier I don't know if he's on the list, but you definitely at least kick the tires on that name. Now, he had a tough sledding at Florida, and from my understanding, he got all of his buyout already. So if he went to Tulane, he would not have to give back any of his buyout. On the staff at Tulane, Will Hall, it was a tough situation to Southern Miss. A lot of Tulane fans want no part of Will Hall being their head coach. Shieldwood is the OC at Texas Tech, and he was in New Orleans. So there's some big time names like assistants, and then obviously the head coach at Kennesaw State, the head coach at Southern Miss are getting some love also. But I wouldn't just put it down to just head coaches. I know they've had success with Willie Fritz being a head coach and Jon Sumrall being a head coach. And I've heard that David Harris likes sitting head coaches. So maybe that might be tougher for Blake Baker and those guys. But I think Blake Baker really wants that job. And he's not going to get a big bump in pay. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. He's making $2.5 million LSU. Summerall was making $3.4 million this past year. So it's not going to be a price bonanza here. He's going there just to become a head coach. And then maybe down the line, he gets a big SEC head coaching job because of what he did at Tulane.
What do you expect the coming weeks to look like? And kind of backtracking some here, but it was something that has obviously been a major storyline for Louisiana football fans to watch the drama of Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. Jon Sumrall will coach Tulane through the rest of the season. It's something that both sides, or all three sides, I guess, of this have agreed upon. What is the juggling act for Jon now moving forward through these coming weeks, and how do you feel like that plays out, knowing that he has already been introduced as Florida's next head coach and now wraps things up with the Green Wave and players that know he's heading on to Gainesville?
Yeah, and North Texas head coach is also heading off to Oklahoma State after this game. So there's no excuse between these two head coaches and programs that they weren't focused because their coaches are leaving. They're both in the same situation. I will say this: Tulane players and coaches are fired up because they're the underdog. They don't need much coercion about this game on Friday because Las Vegas has put Tulane as a 2.5, 3-point underdog, home game. Now, I will say this: UNT can light up the scoreboard, and Tulane was not impressive on offense this past week. Jake Retzloff made some big mistakes. First and goal on the 2-yard line, he threw an interception. He's got to clean that up. So this is going to be a very tight game, but I had a post today on Twitter and all my other platforms that these players are one-year mercenaries, okay? A coach can leave at any time. A player can leave at any time. They're getting paid very well to play this game, but they also want to be a part of history. So from talking to some people at Witness practice the last few days, I've heard they're ready to roll. Jon Sumrall giving some fiery speeches to get them fired up. I mean, he's working two jobs at one time, but if anybody can handle it, it's Jon Sumrall. I think that they're going to come out Friday night and give it everything they got. And I would think they would win this game. The home crowd's going to be probably crazy. The students are back from Thanksgiving break, so it should be a great one on Friday night.
And they've been pressed to go spend all Friday getting juiced up for that thing by Summerall after the game against Charlotte to wrap up the regular season. Where we are right now, just kind of leaving, I guess, with a big picture question. We've seen so many changes in college football the last several years, from the early signing period and then the transfer portal and the NIL era and now the expanded playoff. And so we're getting into these chaotic situations where more so than ever, and in a more prominent situation than ever, you're watching coaches feel pressed to accept their next opportunity before the season ends. And it became, again, a sticking point, the biggest sticking point to drag out the Lane Kiffin Ole Miss move because of an intra-conference dynamic and all of those things. Do you expect that this is the new normal of college football, or do you think that this has been such a hyper spotlighted headache at this point that something's going to have to change in the coming years?
Yeah, I don't know if this calendar is going to change. The coaches fought for one transfer portal, and they got it. They fought for one signing day. We still have 2 signing days, but the coaches fought for the early national signing day, so they didn't have to wait till February. So these are things that the coaches and athletic directors asked for, and they've been given it. And now all of a sudden, everybody's moaning and groaning that they need to change the calendar. I don't think there's going to be any change. I mean, Jarrett, the college football moves very slowly on changes. It took us forever to go from a 4-team playoff to a 12-team playoff. And then we might have a new iteration of a playoff, but then they moved that deadline back to January. It was supposed to be December 1st. So it's tough on them to make big time decisions. So I think this is what we're going to be dealing with. I mean, I love all these guys coming out and saying that the calendar needs to be changed, but they're not giving full ideas of how that can happen. And I don't see it changing anytime soon. They're not going to move the school semesters back. Okay. These guys are student athletes. Okay. They're students first. The universities will make more money off tuition and all that. Okay. They're not going to move the semester program or a different outlook just because of the transfer portal and NIL and coaches. So I think we're going to be dealing with this for the next 2 to 3, 4, 5 years. I don't think a change is happening anytime soon.
Well, it's December 2nd, and it's already been one hell of an off season. So it should remain interesting here moving forward, and potentially beyond for the years to come. And it's a busy week. So Garland, appreciate you, man, taking some time to chat about everything.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm excited that National Sign Day is here. I hate to say this, with the season going as it is, and we're finally getting some finality on the regular season. Now I can get back into recruiting and get a full focus and go out to some high schools tomorrow and hear what they have to say, especially about Lane and what Tulane looks like without a head coach, possibly as early National Sign Day comes to us.
No doubt. I'll see you out there on the road on Wednesday, and we will definitely have some new questions to ask some of these guys on signing day because of everything that happened Sunday and Monday. Again, he's Garland Gillen from Fox 8 New Orleans. I'm Jared Roser for Louisiana Versus all y'all. Thanks again to Garland for his time, and thank you all for checking it out.